the Trappings and Trinkets podcast. I'm your hostess, Nicole. And let's see, today is Friday, May 19th. Today, I thought maybe I would be a little late with this podcast because I spent the morning at the car dealership getting an estimate on my bumper because I got rear-ended yesterday. So, can we please get off our cell phones? I know you would never be on your phone. I know that. It's not you. You're not doing it. But there are people who are, and you probably know some of them. So if you have any influence, tell them to get off their phone. If it's your kid, you have influence. The 17-year-old that ran into me gets out of her car and is like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I was on my GPS." And I'm in a state where teenagers aren't supposed to be on their cell phones for any reason. And I know this because I have a 16-year-old and I just went through the driver's ed training with him. People haven't figured out that cell phones don't really have a place. And it's not that I don't use my GPS. I totally do. But I turn on the audio so that the lady tells me where I have to go, so I don't have to sit there and stare at my screen. Or if I'm in the car with someone else, they have the GPS and they're telling me where to go. Or more likely, my husband is driving and I'm telling him where to go. So just be a responsible person if you are using your GPS. I'm pretty good at avoiding terrible drivers, but it was a perfect storm yesterday because the terrible driver behind me was not paying attention, and I didn't notice her because my attention was focused on the terrible driver in front of me who was coming across the intersection on a green light, and when he got into the intersection, he stopped because isn't that what we all do on a green light? Just stop. So I was kind of like I was waiting to turn right on a red light, and there was 2 lanes, so I could have gone while this guy was in the other farther away lane. But I was like, obviously he is distracted and doesn't know what's going on, so I'm just going to wait till he goes past me. Meanwhile, other teenager is coming up right behind me, and honestly, like, she didn't even slow down as if she was maybe coming to a stop and just misjudged. Like, it was a bumper car situation. Like, it was definitely an impact there. I'm not sure that there's any other answer other than get off your phone. I'm a great driver, but I wouldn't be a great driver if I was on my phone. I wouldn't be a good driver if I was looking at my GPS. There is no text. There is no email. There's nothing on my phone that is so important that it can't wait a few minutes. So, if you're a young parent that thinks that that it's somehow gonna benefit you to be able to multitask and do things on your phone while you're driving, just know that your kids are watching you. Mom, Dad. If you are doing that now, your kid that's watching you is going to be doing it when they're a teenager. You are setting yourself up for a lot of worry when you have teenage drivers. That's not something I worry about with my son, and I hope that it's not something that I'm going to worry about with my daughter, because I know that my husband and I have set the example that phone stuff belongs outside the car. Is driving so boring that you also have to read Facebook? It's something about spring, or maybe it's the end of the school year, or maybe that it's the weather is getting nice now, but I have seen more people driving on the shoulder or drive like in their lane, but kind of just wandering around in their lane. Like, I can tell people are not paying attention to what they're doing. So, and I'm sure it's not just my area. I mean, I've driven up in Chicago. I know there are worse drivers than the ones that live down near me in central Illinois. But I don't know. The whole cell phone thing really worries me. And I actually even live in a hands-free state. In Illinois, you're not supposed to be on your phone at all if you have to, like, touch the phone. Like, the newer cars all have buttons on them, like push the button and then I call so-and-so, or I don't know, push the button and change the song on your iPod. Like, that kind of stuff, okay, that probably is not more disruptive than changing the station on a radio. I'm not convinced that talking on your phone doesn't distract you, because it's different than talking to the person sitting next to you in the car, isn't it? Like, if you're talking to the person next to you and you guys get into some sort of very focused conversation, at least both of you also are in the car and can see things that are happening. If you're on the phone, that person on the phone is not going to know when you hit a construction zone, or they're not going to know when the rain starts getting really heavy and you have to focus more to drive safely. They're not going to know when the traffic gets a lot heavier and suddenly you're not on an open road, you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic and you need to pay more attention. So I'm not convinced that talking on your phone, even hands-free, is a great idea. But can we all please agree that texting, emailing, whatever you're doing on your phone is not worth it? I'm not your mom, but I'm a mom. And if I was your mom, I would tell you to get off your phone. Luckily, I mean, nobody was hurt in this accident, and the damage to my vehicle was pretty minor, but the estimate's $1,000. So even a little fender bender, you know, it turns into a real hassle, and we're lucky that that's all it was. So I was on my way to the yarn shop yesterday when I got in this accident. So luckily, I was there with the shop owner, and another woman that always comes to our knitting group came in pretty soon after I arrived, and I think we had all had kind of a day in our own. We had all had, you know, something to deal with, so we sat there and vented to each other for 20 minutes and then got over it, and, you know, the rest of the evening was fine. What was I working on yesterday? You want to see some projects? This was the aptly named therapy shawl. My hope for this one was I have had this blue gradient sitting in my stash for probably 3 years, and unfortunately I had caked it up a couple years ago thinking I was going to make something with it, and then for whatever reason that didn't happen. So I think when I caked it up I must have gotten rid of the tag, or more likely I probably put it in a drawer somewhere and thought, yeah, I'll just put this tag over here and I'll know where it is. I don't know where it is anymore. So I don't know what this was. I know it was a prize too that I had won. Oh, with the gift along, the indie designer gift along. So I didn't even pick it out. So I really have no idea what this is, but it is the nicest blue gradient, and it came to me as a sock blank. So it starts off, that's white. So it starts off with this real light blue that's in these stripes and in that first mesh section. And then as it goes, the blue gets a little darker and a little darker. And then at the end, it's this nice dark blue. So from the lightest to the darkest is a pretty big difference. And you can see I interspersed some just plain kind of a creamy white, not a bright white, but it's not a real yellowish color either. I can see that the camera's making, like my camera doesn't like this color for some reason. It's turning the whole room yellow every time I hold it up. But I really like this shawl pattern. It's a fun, you know, sit down and do a few rows. You don't have to think too hard to figure out where you left off. It's a nice pattern, and it just has the same 3 ideas over and over. It's either you either have a solid section, or you have a striped section, or you have mesh, and that's it. The first few stripe sections, I was not a good pattern reader. You can see that I have the same, like the width of my stripes are exactly the same. I was doing 8 rows of each, and then I finally read the pattern and saw I was supposed to do 4 rows of the darker color and 2 rows of the light color. So my last 2 sections of stripes are different, and that's okay. It's fine. We're calling it a design choice. So I think it'll be really nice once it's finished, which will probably be this week. But it's not a huge shawl. It'll be about 130 or 140 grams when it's finished. I'm hoping that it blocks out a little bit deeper. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. So that was the therapy shawl by Laura Eiler or Ayler. I just thought that I liked the Shawl name. It felt like 2017 just feels like a good year to do something called therapy. Other finished items. If you watched last week's podcast, I was talking about re-knitting some socks that I had given my husband, and I did. And so these are the Petty Harbor socks, and that pattern is by Raina Curtis, and it's a pretty simple pattern. I think it's a 4-row repeat. And this is out of Dreamin' Colors Smushy with Cashmere, so it's really nice yarn. And do you have one of these sock blockers? It's like a ruler on a sock foot shaped, like hard plastic thing. So I like it while you're knitting the sock. You can kind of put this either in the cuff or in the foot or whatever and measure how long you've knit. But it's also good for, because I don't have any sock blockers, so it's good for showing you a finished pattern here. It's a little bit obscured by the tonal color of the yarn, but I mean, it's on your foot. Come on. It's on your foot. Nobody's looking at no one's paying attention to the texture of my husband's socks. So I really like the way those turned out, and hopefully they will fit him. I did have him try them on as I was knitting them, so they're going to fit this time. It'll be fine. And then I finished a pair of socks for myself out of flock sock yarn. And this is the Blueberry Waffle pattern. And that one was written by Sandy Turner. So this was my Canadian gift yarn that Kelly gave me. So thank you. And she suggested this pattern, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I really liked it. It was another 4-row repeat. Very easy. Both of these pairs of socks I did toe up. That's just my preferred way of doing it. And both of them, I think I did afterthought heels in both of them too. So I don't think either one of them were written with afterthought heels. And I think at least one, if not both of them, were written cuff down. So basically, to turn it around and do toe up, I just look at the stitch pattern and just kind of do my own toe. I cast on somewhere in the ballpark of 24, 28 stitches, so like 12 or 14 on each needle with Judy's Magic Cast On. I just do a stockinette toe before the pattern begins, and then I start with the 4-row stitch pattern or whatever it is. Make my foot the length that's going to work. And then for afterthought heel, you just put in the waist yarn and then keep on going. So you basically have a big tube, and then once you bind off the cuff, you pick out the waist yarn, pick up your stitches, and then the afterthought heel is basically like doing another toe. So it's a very simple way of doing it. And the afterthought heel tends to fit me very well, and when I had my husband try on the remade socks, it fit him very well too. So I think that's going to work really well for us. Sorry, apparently I'm getting tons of email today and having noise all over the place. Early in the podcast, did you hear my cat? That we have a very creaky dining room table, and when the cat gets up there and when he jumps up on the table, then it shakes a little bit and then he gets excited about the noise, I think, so then he moves around some more, so then the table creaks. So I tell you, animals. So what have you been watching while you've been knitting, huh? For me, lately it's been The Handmaid's Tale. And I was going to kind of wait to talk about it because it's such a good story, and it's a book that I really, really liked when I read it probably 10 or 15 years ago. And I think they're doing a fantastic job with the show, but I just couldn't stand anymore. So I had to talk about it today. So let's talk about The Handmaid's Tale. I have not read the book again. I know a lot of people on social media are talking about like, oh, I read the book again in preparation to watch the show. I'm actually not one of those people that needs to compare the book. Like if there's a book and a show, I don't need to compare the two. Like it's fine. Like you can interpret it in a slightly different way, or I don't want to be mad that they didn't stick to the book on this or that. So I didn't read the book again, but I remember the general idea. And I really feel like this interpretation of it takes the world of the book and kind of the basic, well, they take the basic background story of Offred, but as the show is going on, I think that they're definitely taking it in whatever directions they want to with the story. This is not just a retelling of the book. It is definitely taking the book another step farther. And I think I just read somewhere that they renewed it for a second season. So if this goes on for, many more years, then certainly they could do a lot. But it's all in the structure of this new America that's, now governed by a very conservative religious government. And it's just, I really thought that maybe I wouldn't be able to watch it, or that it would make me upset or very uncomfortable. But I would say you really get the sense from the main character that it is a hopeful story, and it's a story where this woman is going to do what she needs to do to survive, but she is not going to be taken down by her position in that new world. So because the main character is a hopeful character and a strong character, and a character that you definitely get the sense of, like, if she gets the chance to do something to help either improve her situation or to change things, she's going to do it. And so I think that's what allows me to watch it without feeling upset about it. So I would definitely recommend it if you're a person that was thinking, I don't know if I can watch this right now. I felt the same way as you, and once I watched it, I totally went the other way. I felt like, yeah, I can watch this. It's a valuable story. And I hope that more people are watching it. I hope everybody's watching it. It's on Hulu, and it's one of the Hulu original shows. So I think that's the only place that it's available right now. And I also really like how they're releasing it. A lot of times with streaming shows, you'll get the whole season. Like on the release date, they just put all the episodes out there. With this one, they put the first 3 episodes out there on the release date, which was, I want to say, about 3 weeks ago. And then they're releasing 1 episode a week. And I think that actually helps me watch it, that I'm not able to just sit there and binge through multiple episodes. I think it's a show that it's really good to watch, and it's also really good to take a break and not watch 3 or 4 episodes in a row, because I think that would be harder. So I do like how they're, whoever made that decision, I think it was a really good one. So I'm telling you, watch the Handmaid's Tale. I think that you really might get something out of it. That's about all I can say about the Handmaid's Tale without getting into other things, into other areas of life. And let me say that last week there was a little bent out of shapeness about that I was talking about the Health Care Act that was passed in the House of Representatives. But there wasn't nearly as much as I maybe anticipated. So, congratulations to all of us for that. Congratulations to me, because I really was trying to be conscious of this is something I want to talk about. This is something that I think is important that people know about. But I'm not doing it to be offensive. I'm not doing it to judge. If you voted Republican, I'm not talking about healthcare as some sort of judgment on you. I really was trying to make an effort to just say, here's what I think. And so please just make sure that this is something that you're conscious of, and that if you feel that you don't like the way things are going, that you do something to take action. And I don't often, in fact, I think this is the first time that I've asked my husband to preview something that I was going to put out in the podcast. I really don't second guess myself very much, but even though I wasn't second guessing what I was doing, I wanted to have another pair of eyes on it just to have the perspective of, you know, is there something that I'm saying here? Is there some sort of attitude that I'm taking that you think is not going to be helpful and is going to be perceived as an attack? So I did have him preview that first 10 minutes or so, just to get another person's stamp of approval that I wasn't being too crazy about it. So I really wasn't trying to offend. But also, congratulations to you. If you're still watching me, obviously you understood that my intent was to inform, not to tear down. And I appreciate it that you are open to hearing that, whether or not you agree with me. I want the conversation, and I don't just want it with the people that I know. I want it with anybody who's willing to talk about it, because that's the only way that things get better, is if people understand people who are different from them. Just the fact that you listened to what I had to say, and whether or not you responded in the comments or sent me a personal message, like, I'm happy if you do want to talk about it. I'm also content if you don't really want to engage and talk about it, but that you are willing to listen to another person's perspective. So congratulations to all of us. It was kind of funny because I'd been thinking about talking about another thing that maybe is not going to cause people to get bent out of shape in the same way, but that might have people clutching their pearls a little bit. So maybe with last week's episode, I weeded out a few of the people that are going to get upset about stuff. And so now I can talk about this other thing without people getting bent out of shape about that. But I'll give you a warning. I'm going to talk about periods. So if you are a lady of a certain age and you don't have to deal with this, well, okay. First of all, congratulations to you. So happy for you. Maybe in a decade or so, I'll join you and, you know, throw off some confetti and some fireworks, because yay for that. And if you're a guy and you don't want to hear about it, that's fine. Or if you're just a lady that doesn't want to hear about, I don't know, I'm going to tell you about something that I just discovered that I really think is valuable information. But if you are so happy with your period that you don't need to hear about that, then that's fine. I'm going to put in the down bar, I'm going to put a little message about what time you can Zoom to if you want to just get past this part, not hear about this information. Because I do have one other little thing to share with you that I'm very excited about. So I don't want you to miss that. But if you don't want to hear about periods, then go ahead and Zoom, fast forward, get on up. So, have you heard of Thinks? Oh, right there. Thinks, their little slogan is period panties. My camera is so crazy today. I feel like I am so beige on this camera today because anything that I put up here is causing the camera to be weird. So my apologies that the color is terrible. But anyway, so you order some Thinks period panties. Am I the only one that hates the word panty? Who says that? I do not like that word. I feel like that's what your grandma calls underwear. Panties. Your panties. Some weirdo on the internet that wants to pay you to send him your underwear. He's going to call them panties. Panties. Underwear. It's period underwear. I wear it under my pants. It comes, so if you're one of those people that doesn't want the mailman to know that you've ordered your period underwear, you're going to be a little disappointed because it comes in this envelope. Although when I think it was my son saw this envelope and he goes, "What'd you order in that package of legs?" So who knows? Your postman, maybe he's just going to think you ordered some legs. So it comes in this lovely little envelope here. And I think you order them just separately, or they do have a percentage off if you order 3 or 6 at a time. So I'm not one to show my drawers on the internet, but they're brand new. So it's like you're at the store. Just pretend you're at the store, okay? I'll show you my drawers. So this is the hip hugger style. And I'm not really one for lace, but because generally, like, I think it's just itchy. This is only at the waist, and it doesn't really bother me. I don't think it's itchy, so whatever. And there's no lace on the leg holes. That's just plain. Um, but they're just pretty plain. The cut is okay. I'm a little, like, if I had my ideal underwear, they would be cut a little less up the cheek, if you know what I mean. Like, they're just a little narrow on the bottom. I don't feel like I have a particularly wide rear, but these are a little, like, they're 10% creeper. The underwear that I love, like the, what are they? Jockey, like, cotton. I'm a practical girl. It's the, Bergner's Jockey Cotton Hip Huggers. They're just like plain underwear. You don't even notice them. They're very nondescript. And really, like, these are the closest thing that Thinx has to those. But they are not cotton, and that is a little weird. Like, I would say they are 60% underwear, and they are 40% swimsuit bottoms. Like, they have that sort of stretchy, thicker, sort of, I don't want to say plasticky, but you know how swimsuit bottoms just, they're a different fabric than most underwear. So these definitely have that swimsuit bottom sort of feel to them. The reason that them not being cotton bothers me a little bit is because they're very slippery. Like, I'm not used to underwear slipping around on my body and in my pants. So it's a little, it takes a little getting used to. If you're not used to wearing underwear that has a slick surface, it takes a minute. The slick surface is only on the outside, though. The inside of them is just like a cotton, a very mesh or matte kind of cotton feel. I don't think it is cotton because on here, I think they tell you what it's made from. Well, it does tell you this, that the fabric is moisture wicking, antimicrobial, absorbent, and leak resistant. So I don't think cotton would be antimicrobial. So maybe it has little bamboo in there. Like, I know that that's an antimicrobial fiber. Maybe. But, so the reason that I am willing to put up with these couple of minor annoyances is because other than the kind of weirdness that I had to get used to in the fit of them, I love them. So I was really excited, not just for the eco-friendliness of them, but also for convenience reasons. When you're wearing these, you really don't worry about, like, oh, am I gonna have to go to the bathroom before I get back from the store? Make sure I got some tampons in my purse. There's none of that. These are not necessarily meant to replace whatever you're normally using, but many days it can replace them, and on the days that it can't replace them, you're kind of using it as a backup or using it during part of the day. So, for example, maybe the first 2 days, I will still use a tampon or two in the morning and early afternoon, and then as the day goes on, then I'm just not using those anymore and I'm just using the underwear. But while I am using the tampons, I don't worry about, oh, I got to get to the bathroom before this leaks or before, I need to change it, because if it leaks, who cares? Because you're wearing the fancy underwear. So I really like that. The laundry situation is fantastic because I'm not a super heavy sleeper, but apparently there are still nights where I can go to bed double protected. I can have two forms of taking care of this situation going, and I will still wake up with some sort of spot on my sheets and be like, now I gotta scrub this out and spot treat it and throw it in the laundry. That, especially like when it gets into the mattress pad, like, who wants to deal with that? So here's what happens when you sleep. Because if you're using a pad, let's say, that is only going to protect you in the area that it's applied, right? Unfortunately, when you're laying down, gravity is not your friend. It's not, if you're laying on your back, then everything's kind of going down towards the bed, not necessarily out towards your feet. With the Thinks period underwear, every surface on the interior is absorbent. It's not just like where you would expect to be absorbent. It's everything. So if you are laying down and gravity is not your friend and you've got something that's, coming out the back, it's going to get caught. It's all going to get caught. So I have not had any problems at all since starting to use these. And I think that they are a huge improvement for nighttime. And I think that I'm totally convinced. So I am 100% ordering more, because I think the only thing that that I did wrong when I ordered them is that I only ordered 3 pairs. So if I, that's only going to last me a day or two, and then I need to do laundry so that I can wear them the next day. Oh, and they do take a really long time to dry because they're so absorbent. Like, I'll put them on my blocking table with a fan on them, and it still takes overnight. And I probably have to flip them over so that both, like, all the surfaces can get hit with the fan. So I would say you definitely want to order maybe 6 pairs, and that with 6 pairs, you would probably have to do laundry once in the middle of your period so that you could, get the rest of the days taken care of. But I feel like once I have 6 pairs, I'll be all set. So having only 3 pairs is kind of a bummer. And looking at their size chart, so this was the only other thing that was a little wonky as far as I was concerned. When I looked at the size chart, they do give you waist and hip measurement. And when I compared my measurements to their chart, I was kind of on the border between the medium or large size. And like, my jeans are like a size 6 or 8 at most stores. So I would say that's a fairly medium-ish size. But I didn't want it to be too tight. I do not like tight underwear. So I was like, all right, I'm going to err on the side of too big. And so I got the size large, and they are definitely not too big. So I would say if you are between sizes, definitely go with the larger size. And they do allow you to exchange. So with my first order, I ordered a medium and 2 larges, thinking that probably I'm going to end up sticking with the large, and that's actually what happened. So I called them and said I need to exchange the medium pair for a large, and they sent the new pair right out, and it was great. So highly recommend. I'm pretty sure I remember getting an email from them saying that there was like a discount code with $10 off maybe. So I'll see if I can dig that up, and if I can, I'll put it in the show notes. I don't think I've been listing the show note website on my YouTube channel, but if you're interested and want to see written out what I've talked about on the podcast, you can go there. Highly recommend. Go give them a try. All right. I'm super excited about this next little thing. I think I told you last week that I had something that I wanted to share with you that I've been working on developing, but that I thought I was going to have to wait 2 more episodes. Well, I'm not waiting 2 more episodes. Today is the day. So I developed this product, and I decided that rather than selling it in my Etsy store, I was going to try to see if there was a possibility that yarn shops might be interested in carrying this product. I can definitely see the market for it, and I think that it's just a fun little thing that a lot of people might enjoy getting for themselves, or if a yarn shop teaches classes, or if you're a person that's in charge of a retreat or classes at a retreat or something like that, that you might enjoy making these a part of like the swag that you give out after your event. So I've started with the yarn shops that I was familiar with, so shops that I've been to. I sent information to shops that I've been following on Instagram, so I'm familiar kind of with the sort of things that they have in their shop, and I figure, well, if I like the products they're featuring, and I like the things that I'm seeing on their Instagram account, then maybe they will like the things that I'm doing. And then I also went into my Ravelry designer account, and I sent information to some of the shops that have sold my patterns in the past. So these are shops that I'm not super familiar with, but again, I figured, well, if they liked my clothing designs, then maybe they'll like these other designs that I'm making. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. If you like them, please tell your yarn shop owner. Ask them, have you heard about Fiber Flair? Oops, here we go. Fiber Flair. This is my little sample card, so I just have it printed out on paper, but I don't have a good way to describe them that doesn't sound kind of ridiculous. But what happened was this kind of came out of a silly conversation that we were talking about. I had just repaired something, and I was very excited about being able to figure out how to repair something in a stitch that's kind of difficult. And I was like, oh, I need an award for being able to do this. And then I was like, an award, like a Girl Scout badge. And then we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, I wonder if that exists. So we got on Google, we got on the Etsy, and we really couldn't find anything. So that's my very short spiel, is when people ask me, what is Fiber Flair? I say, they are merit badges for knitters, or achievement badges for knitters. And what that means is, let's say, oh, you did some stranded knitting for the first time? I bet you're really excited about that. Well, maybe you come into your shop and you see the Colorwork Project button. So it just has like, I did a colorwork project. And then you take it home and you put it on your knitting bag. And then you remember, oh, I did that colorwork. That was so exciting, and I was so excited when I learned that. Or how about I knit 2 socks and they matched? Because you know, the first time you knit 2 socks, they don't match. So that's a victory when you finally knit something that, you know, one of the pair matches the other. So some of them are focused on techniques. Some of them are focused on like the actual thing, like the sweater or the socks or whatever. And these are just like regular metal pin back buttons. They're a little over, they're like an inch and a quarter around, so they're not real big. And then some of them are just kind of other silly things. So like this one says, defied the sweater curse. So I had to check with my Canadian knitting buddy to make sure that the sweater curse was not just something that was like a American Midwest thing. And it's not. Apparently people in other countries know what the sweater curse is. So if you are not married and you decide that you need to knit your boyfriend a sweater, then you know what happens? Well, he breaks up with you. That's the sweater curse. I don't know. I didn't know how to knit when I just had a boyfriend. So I've only had a husband while I'm a knitter. So I don't know if the sweater curse is true. I never tested it out. But my husband hasn't divorced me, and I've made him a few sweaters. So I guess it doesn't work for married couples. But beware, if you're just dating, don't knit that man a sweater until he puts a ring on it. Or we've got Frog That Project. Reused yarn to make something I'll actually wear. Oops, sorry, that's kind of blurry. Getting a little glare. There we go. Reused the yarn to make something I'll actually wear. Little frog guy with some yarn. So they're gonna come on like larger cards like this, where there's 4 pins in a set. Like the 4 that I just showed you, that's one of the sets. And this first collection has 12 pins. So you've got 3 different cards with 4 pins each, or your shop can also order them as individual buttons that just come on a smaller card, and then there's just 1 pin per little envelope. So if you like them, please tell your yarn shop owner. Say, hey, have you heard about Fiber Flair? If you are a person that might be interested in getting these for your shop, then please email me and I will share the information with you. But I am planning on making a decision by the beginning of June. So if I don't have enough orders by then it's probably not going to go forward with it. But if I do, then we will. So if you want to help me make this a reality, spread the word. Fiber Flair. Oh, look, Tabby, he's back. Hi, Tabby. So, oh, I almost forgot. So another finished object is the sweater I'm wearing today. This is kind of an older project, but it's just a very plain shaped dolman sweater, which means it doesn't really have sleeves. The sleeves on this actually just kind of grow out of the sweater itself. It's just, imagine a big rectangle, and then when you get to the sleeves, you just stop knitting in the round and just start going back and forth. And then when you seam it at the shoulders, all I did was add this little cuff, and that's kind of what makes it look like a sleeve. So there's a lot of like bagginess on the sides. That's, you can't have a dolman sweater without having baggy sides. But it's just a nice loose sweater, and the top here, I think you might not be able to see this. Like, I don't think that the pattern had you sew this down, but I didn't like how this looked when it was open, so I just kind of pinned the sides down here to keep it a little more stable. And you kind of want to wear a tank top under it. The neckline's just a little bit large to just wear. As you can see, your bra's going to hang out. So if you don't want your bra hanging out, wear a tank top. Or who cares? Let your bra hang out. I don't care. Have you noticed that I'm extra blonde today? So I think since the last episode, I had my hair colored, and I should show you, like, my hair. So my hair is, all right, so she colored my roots. It was supposed to be the same color as my actual hair, but this is a much darker brown, I think, than my normal hair. And also, for some reason, when I wear my sunglasses, it looks super red. Does it look red? It doesn't look red in this light. But yeah, so now I have this weird, like, maybe fluorescent red roots on the top of my head. And I had asked her to just put in some blonde highlights. I think I still have a picture that I sent my husband while I was in the process of doing this. It looked like a wig. It was like a stage wig. When she rinsed me off and blow dried it, like I was facing away from the mirror when she blow dried it. And when she turned me around, it was like, oh, look, Marilyn Monroe's hair has planted itself on my head. So I was like, all right, well, so that's blonde, not really highlights, but it's super blonde. I don't know. This is not really what I asked for. After the blonde nightmare, then she went back in and kind of added some brown. But like, as I'm sitting here in the window, I have a lot of trouble finding the brown. So apparently she just thought I needed to be blonde. When someone asks you to color their hair, but to keep it looking natural, they don't want platinum blonde. Platinum blonde is not natural for most people. I'm on the fence about just buying a box of brown dye and putting things back where they belong. I'm a little nervous to go back because this was not what I had asked for. Obviously, I have nothing else to talk about. There he is. Tabby. Oh, he is a very good boy. He is a dog cat, and when I call him, he comes. How's that for a cat? Most cats do not do that. If you've ever had a cat, you know they're like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you calling my name. Let's not pretend you have any sort of control over me. All right. Yeah, you're a nice boy. Yes, he's a very nice boy. All right. So I guess Tubby doesn't have anything to say about knitting. He has nothing to say. Nothing to say. Oh, he wants you to see his naked belly, though. Oh, look at that. What a handsome boy. What a handsome boy you are. Yes, you are. You're a nice boy. All right. Next time I see you, I'm going to be the mom of 2 high school kids. So my daughter graduates next week from junior high. So 2 high schoolers. So that's super exciting for her and her friends. So, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she likes high school and, what that experience is like for her. And then my other My son is he's finishing up his junior year right now, so next year will be the last year that we have two kids in the house probably. And yeah, they'll both be at the same school for the first time in 4 years, so that'll be nice. And yeah, it's exciting times. So, if you have stuck with me through the whole episode, I thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you found something out that you didn't know before, or that you can use something that I talked about, or maybe you'll check out the show or the underwear that that I gave you the information about. Maybe you'll tell your yarn shop owner that you're dying for some fiber Flair. If you want to see the other 8 designs, you have to get your yarn store to carry it. So help me out. Help make this a reality. All right. I thank you very much for your support and for your time. I hope to see you back here next time. Bye.